everyone, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks so much for tuning in. We're gonna be saying goodbye to some eyeshadow palettes today. They're going to the big makeup aisle in the sky with between like the upcoming Sephora VIB sale. Ulta just had their 20% off coupon and I kind of made a purchase there. I just have to make some room, and as I was going through my eyeshadows, none of these are bad palettes, but as I've tried new products, but the formulas have gotten better, color combinations have gotten better. These just aren't doing it for me anymore, and so it's time to say goodbye. Let's go ahead and go through them. Starting with some palettes that I actually already have some replacements coming in for. They are all from Essence. This, I don't know if they still have these available. If they do, it's the All About Sunrise 6-pan eyeshadow palette, the All About Nude 6-pan eyeshadow palette, the Eye and Face palette, which has 4 eyeshadows, a blush, and a highlight, and then the All About Nudes eyeshadow palette right here, which is an 8-pan eyeshadow palette. And overall, these just they're very soft shadows. They're all very shimmery / satin shadows. There's not a true matte to be found in here. And just in general, they lack a lot of contrast, and I see a lot of repeat colors across some of these. Like in almost all of these palettes, I feel like they could be reduced down to trios or quads because there are so many shades that are close in there. So when it really comes down to pulling a palette out that I love because of its color combination, because of its unique contrast, or because it has every shade I need in it, these are just rarely them. Or traveling. These are great travel sizes, and I just never pull these out because I'm always left wanting something a little bit more for my makeup bag. And so, especially knowing that I have 2 new palettes from Essence coming, these are on the way out. Next up is a luxury palette. This is the Frivolux palette from Marc Jacobs, and of course immediately attracted to it because of this incredible pop of bright blue purple. It's a matte shade, but when you take it away, I mean, like so many palettes these days, it's amongst a lot of other shadows that I have in my collection. And then sure enough today, as I was looking through my collection, there are a lot of shades similar to this. I will admit not all of them are quite the perfect combination of blue and purple. A lot of them are more true purple. But for instance, here I have one from the e.l.f. Jewel Pop palette, one of my favorites from their matte palette collection. What are they called? The Mad for Matte palette collection. And you can see here, I mean, it's pretty similar. Are they matching up? They're pretty similar. Again, the matte or the e.l.f. is just a hair more red over blue, but for all practical purposes, and especially if you mix them with these similar cool taupey shades like pinks, you're gonna get a very similar effect. Now that's not to say I don't like these palettes or the formula. I do. The first one I bought from this collection I am totally still keeping. This is the Dreamer palette. I feel like this is the one that everyone kind of got when they first came out. So I am keeping that. It's just this one where I hold on to it for that purple shade because the other shades are pretty standard, I think, but that purple shade is really in so many other palettes now. Talking about some e.l.f. that I am getting rid of though, it's time for their baked eyeshadow palettes to go for me. These are pretty old school. I mean, I remember talking about them pretty close to when I first started doing YouTube. These guys, there's the NYC palette, which is kind of the cooler, smokier version, and then the California palette, which is naturally the warmer, more neutral palette here. And just in general, like these really wowed me when I wet them, but now there are so many other eyeshadow palettes, including from e.l.f., that you don't have to work as hard for that kind of pigment for. The shape of the pan's kind of awkward. I don't know, these just don't really speak to me anymore. Also, they're super old because I haven't like refreshed these since I first bought them, so I'm pretty sure these are still the same palettes I was working with, 2012 or 2013 whenever I kind of first started my channel up. So these probably have to go solely for that reason, but also just because there's so many other great formulas that I prefer over these now. This one hits me in the nostalgia, but it's gotta go. It's the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. This is nostalgic for me because it's one of the first all matte eyeshadow palettes that I can ever remember launching. It was a game changer for me. It's when I first discovered that I could love an all matte eyeshadow look, because before that, it's just, formulas continuously improve. Matte shadows weren't always the smooth, blendable, buttery dreams we have in our collections today. And so to imagine an entire matte eye look just, ooh, it like hurt. It would be so patchy and dry and crusty. Blech. But then this came out and it was just like such a dream to work with and blend. But like, you know, so many other things in makeup, as companies compete with each other, coming out with similar things, how many all matte eyeshadows do we have out at this point? Actually, I can tell you, I have a couple videos up on this channel where I talk about my favorites, and this is among them, but at this point, I rarely reach for this now because, in same things that I've mentioned for the other palettes here, it doesn't have quite as much contrast. A lot of these shades here are kind of similar when you really look at them. There's some palettes out there right now that have more pops of color that I'm really drawn to, along with those neutrals to help kind of balance you out, give you a little bit more versatility. And so my heart is still with this palette, but it just doesn't have a place in my collection anymore. Also, kind of like those e.l.f. palettes, it's super duper old. Like, I'm probably gonna get an infection if I use this, so it's gotta go. And then the last palette, I feel like I'm not getting rid of a lot, but I'm working in baby steps, you know? Sometimes I like to do full-on clean sweeps and just do a big purge, and I just haven't been able to get myself to do that recently. I don't know what it is. You have to be in the right mindset. Are you the same way? Or are you kind of all or nothing, purge or hoard? I don't know, let me know down in the comments. But the last palette is from the brand MUA Professional. This is their metallic eyeshadow palette, although it's really just more like metallic but very rich in jewel tones, which I am always a sucker for. But again, this came out ages ago. These are really more smoky jewel toned eye palettes, and since there have been so many other brighter, more vibrant jewel toned palettes to launch, I mean, I just mentioned the one from e.l.f., you know, the Mad for Matte Jewel Pop palette if you want an entirely matte palette, but the other one that I actually like more that has more metallic satin shimmery finishes is the CoverGirl True Naked Jewels palette. I mean, like, look at the vibrant blues and purples and greens and golds in here. Like, what a dream. So I just figure, again, because I have all these other options in my makeup collection, I'm just not reaching for this one from MUA anymore. Also, it's pretty old, so it should probably go. So those are all of the palettes I'm getting rid of today. Not a ton, guys, so it might be a little bit boring, but just thought I would share because, you know, as I'm going through these palettes and I'm finding that there are clear alternatives I prefer to these, thinking it might be helpful to you guys if you have similar preferences. So let me know what you think of all this down in the comments below. If you like it, if you don't, tell me either way. Besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.